He was in the family, yet he didn't have a revelation of a family. He was a son, yet he did not have a revelation of sonship. He acted like a servant. First thing that I want you to write down is that an orphan spirit lives in religious people. Orphan spirit lives in religious people because religiosity breeds an orphan spirit. And religion, I'm not talking about in a descriptive term of spiritual religions. I'm talking about a mindset. I'm talking about a position that people embrace. I'm talking about rut and routine, set of rules that people are stuck in and they're dead in it. Today what I want to look from is from Book of Luke. I want to look at the story of a prodigal son and an older son and the father. And those of you that don't know the story, here's how it's in short sounds like. There was two sons that the father had, an older and a younger son. And the younger son decided he didn't want to be in the father's house. He didn't want to be about father's business. He asked the father, while father was still alive, to get his portion of inheritance, which was in that day in the culture was very disrespectful to do. He disrespected the father by doing so, and he took his portion. The older son stayed with the house and with the father and continued on with his duties, while the younger son, Bible says, left to a distant country, and this is where he splurged and wasted all of his possessions with ungodly living. Bible says with prostitutes and parties and all this stuff. And of course, that lifestyle led him to being broke, losing everything, to the point where Bible says he wanted to eat what pigs were eating, but he wasn't even allowed to eat that food. And at one point, Bible says he came to himself and said, what am I doing here? Even servants have plenty of bread in my father's house. Let me return to my father's house, say that I have sinned against heaven and him, and maybe perhaps he would take me back. So he returns to the father. Father waits for him. He does his speech of apologizing to his father. Father interrupts him mid-speech and begins to restore him, gives him a ring, gives him a sandal, gives him a robe. Ring represents he restored his authority. Robe represents that he restored his righteousness. And he throws this big party in his name, in his return. And this is where we pick up the story. The older son coming in from the field, working for the father, doing all the right things, staying in the father's house, being diligently working. He comes and hears the party and he gets offended. Luke 15:25 says this: now his older son was in the field, and he came and drew near the house and heard music and dancing. Write this down. Christianity is not a religion. It's a revelation. Christianity is not a set of rules. It's a relationship. And the older son, he followed the rules. He was diligent in being helpful. He's diligent being about his father's business, taking care of the tasks that father had for him, being in the house, but he missed the entire point of being a son. He acted like a servant. He acted like a slave. He had no revelation of sonship. It seems like his relationship with his father was based on his performance, on his task list. It seems like he was always trying to earn a right to be a son. He was trying to earn a right to have father's permission for having a blessing and enjoyment in life. He was always striving. He was in the family, yet he didn't have a revelation of a family. He was a son, yet he did not have a revelation of sonship. He acted like a servant. See, Jesus said in Matthew chapter 16, verse 17 to Peter, he said, "Blessed are you, Simon, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." Christianity is not about set of rules. Christianity is not about do's and don'ts. We do and we have set of rules or commandments or laws and principles. Of course, God gives all of those things, but that's for us, for our own safeguarding, safekeeping, to help to protect us from spiritual danger, from physical danger. But Christianity is not, that's not what makes up a Christianity. That's not what makes up Christianity is about a relationship. It's about intimacy with the Lord. And when people focus so much on doing instead of being, they get into religion, get into a religious cycle. And religion breeds an orphaned spirit. Religion produces orphans. Revelation produces sons and daughters. Number 2, an orphan spirit brings out anger. If you find yourself constantly frustrated, if you find yourself constantly angry, and maybe you even justifying that anger as a righteous anger, I want you to look at Luke chapter 15, verse 28. "But he became angry and was not willing to go in. And his father came out and began to plead with him." He was angry. Imagine this. Your brother who was lost. Nobody knew if he's alive, he's dead. Finally, he comes home. It's not like back those days, they had cell phones, they had social media. You can follow, you can track, you can see, yeah, they're not doing the right things, but at least you know they're alive. There's always a chance. But they didn't have those connections, communication points. So finally he comes back home and they discover he's alive. The father is rejoicing. You would think all the families of the member, including the older son, will rejoice, but he finds himself in being angry. Anger, orphan spirit, produces frustration and anger. Orphan spirit produces this quote unquote righteous indignation. Orphan spirit produces this mental crusade for justice. Righteous crusade for justice, quote unquote, but there's nothing righteous about it. It's just coming out of anger. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 through 27 says, "Be angry, but do not sin. Do not let the sun get on your set on your anger, and do not leave room for the devil." Meaning that if we continue in this orphan spirit, we will cultivate and create room for anger. And anger, if it's not dealt with, like it says in Ephesians, meaning that we continue to harbor anger day over day over day without dealing with it, without dealing with the root of anger, we come to the place where anger beginning to root itself in our soul, and it opens the door to demons. And then an anger intensifies and becomes more aggressive, of course, just righteously justifying everything. But in reality, at this point, person needs deliverance because they've been harboring anger that came as a result of an orphan spirit. An orphan spirit begins to push a person into an isolation. As we read Luke chapter 15, verse 28, it says, and he would not go in. He would not go in. He did not want to join the family. He did not want to be a part of the celebration. He did not want to partake in the joy of restoration of his brother. He was angry, he was disappointed, and he begins to accuse. Luke chapter 15 verse 30 says, but as soon as this son of yours came in, I want you to notice that he begins to separate himself from the family. He didn't say, as soon as my brother came in. He doesn't even want to associate. This is my brother. He says, your son, as soon as he came in, all of these things started to happen. Orphan spirit, it strives to isolate us from the family of God. It tries to isolate us from our physical family. It tries to isolate us from our friends, from an environment where we can thrive and grow together. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. We need each other. But see, when a person has an orphan spirit, they get easily offended. They get easily angered. Two ways the enemy uses people to destroy. Number one, it's isolation. Isolation says people are the problem, so everybody hurts me. Everybody misunderstands me. Everybody is after to get me. It's me against the world. And therefore, it serves them as an excuse to distance themselves from the church, distance themselves from their family members, distance themselves from their friends, and they begin to find themselves in isolation. And the second thing that the enemy uses to isolate us is toxic people. If isolation says people are the problem, toxic people say you are the problem. You are the problem, and that begins to reinforce the orphan mindset, reinforce within us the idea we should be alone, we should be excluded. And that's enemy's tactics, because he knows if he can isolate you. Same thing we see in the animal world. When a pride of animals are hunting, they're hunting a prey. Their goal is to isolate them from a herd. Because even the most, maybe I should say, the most defenseless animal I don't know, maybe like zebra or something like that, don't really have any, they don't have any horns, they don't have any specific tools to defend themselves. If they stay in a herd, it's much harder for lions to defeat them. And so Bible says that the enemy walks like a roaring lion, looking who to devour, and who he is going after: the people that are isolated, the people that allowed an orphan spirit to take root in their heart, bitterness to take root in their heart, anger to take root in their heart. They're beginning to see people as problems instead of seeing people and the communities and families, church family, as their safe haven and protection. They begin to withdraw. Enemy begins to speak to them lies. Either you are the problem or people are the problem, but the goal is the same: get you isolated. Once you're isolated, they get you. Demons get you. Pride gets you. Anger gets you. Number 4, orphan spirit carries sense of entitlement, unfairness, demanding, and controlling. Luke chapter 15:29 says this: "Lo, though these many years I have served you, I have never transgressed." First of all, never transgressed, never did anything wrong. This false righteousness, I never transgressed your commandments at any time. Really? You're saying you're perfect. Yet you never give me a young goat that I might make merry with my friends. Really? But that is what orphan spirit does. It makes this wild accusation, these wild claims. On one side, they say, I never transgressed, I always did right. Really? On the other side, you never gave me. Really? Because the father said everything in the house was always yours. Because orphan spirit always focuses on the dues. It's all about what I did, not who I am. And the father made it very clear. Listen, son, it was never about what you do for me. No, that's great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Awesome. But I have servants that do things. That's their job. Now, as a son, yes, you are about the father's business, but you're not about the father's business to be a son. You are a son, you're a daughter. And that's why you're about the father's business. Number 5, an orphan spirit is jealous when others are promoted. But as soon as Luke chapter 15:30, as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, you killed a fatted calf for him. Orphan spirit cultivates jealousy. Orphan spirit cultivates jealousy. Orphan spirit cultivates jealousy. See, every blessing is a test, and every test is a blessing. When you see people blessed, when you hear their testimony, what is the first thing that pops into your head? God, why not me? Why so long? God, I'm tired of waiting. God, why them? I've been Christian longer. I've been fasting more. I've been praying more. I've been giving consistently. This. Or is your attitude, wow, God, thank you so much for doing what you did for them. If you did it for them, you can do it for me. Lord, if you're visiting my neighbor and blessing him, I'm so happy. That means you're in my neighborhood. I am next. See, that talk is a talk of a son, of a daughter of God. A son of God, why? Why not me? Why them? Why this and that? It's a talk of an orphan heart, orphan spirit. And so blessings of God They are a test that reveals the content of our heart. Because Bible says the heart is deceitful above all things, even deceives us. Only God truly knows the content of our heart. And so these things that I'm sharing with you is to help us to recognize where we have allowed an orphan spirit to operate in our life and allowed this jealous, comparing, controlling, demanding, entitled mindset to seep in to our character, our soul. And somebody else's blessing is our test. It's a test to reveal, is there some hidden orphaned spirit brewing and operating deep down in us? So number 5, orphan spirit is jealous when others are promoted. Other people's blessing is your test. Number 6, orphans can't access their inheritance. When you cultivate an orphan heart, when you cultivate an orphan spirit, it will keep you from your inheritance. It will keep you from accessing what belongs to you because you're always focused what others are getting, instead of focusing on what you have received, instead of focusing on what belongs to you and working toward it and receiving it from the Father. Verse 31 of chapter 15 says this, and he said, the Father said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. Bible says that all spiritual blessings have been given to us. In 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 3 says this, seeing that his divine power has granted to us everything pertaining to life and godliness. So God has already granted all of those things to you. Pertaining to life and godliness, it's been given to you. It's your possession. Through the true knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and excellence. 1 Peter chapter 1, 3. But see, the son was so much focused, the older son was so much focused on doing instead of being. He was trying to earn and trying to live up to something that he already had. All he needed to do is just receive it, accept it, and enjoy it. Intimacy unlocks your inheritance. What will bring healing to your orphan heart? What will begin to uproot this bitter root of an orphan spirit is an intimacy with the Lord. Is positioning yourself to receive from his love. Bible says he pours out his love into our hearts by his Spirit. Intimacy with the Lord is the only thing that can cure an orphan heart. Because an orphan heart comes from a place of lack of love. For the better words, I'm thinking how to word it better. When a person has not received a sufficient, has not received or has not accepted, let's put it this way, because there's two elements to it. Where orphan heart comes from, where the root of an orphan spirit comes from, is either rejection, they have not received sufficient love, attention, care, they have been deprived from it, and I begin to cultivate this mindset of an orphan, or they have rejected the love, attention, and intimacy. So, the root of it is either rejection or rejecting. In this case, an older son, he had access to the father. Father loved him. Father never withheld anything from him. But the older son rejected it. He did not embrace it. He did not have a revelation of sonship. Somehow he embraced his do mindset instead of be. And through that, he rejected sonship, rejected access to his inheritance. But what unlocks your inheritance? What shatters the bitter root of rejection? What shatters and kills off this orphan spirit is close intimacy with God.